and present, well, actually to introduce and present to you all our administrator, we call him our administrative director, who's coming to the table. I'm sure that you all read her resume, and I want her to just spend about 2 minutes greeting us and then talking to us about just a little bit about her background, so that those of you who are not senators will have some general idea as to who Destiny Drake West is. She's going to be our legislative director for the session, and we are very, very pleased that she is on board. She comes to the table with vast experience. She is a person who does not wait for things to happen. She believes in making things happen, and she is about the business of ensuring that we have an agenda that's going to directly address Prince George's County, because our goal is to ensure that we raise the bar and continue to move forward with a county that really is the Mecca for the nation, really and truly. I'm very, very pleased to be a part of Prince George's County. Wouldn't move anywhere else. Love Washington County, love Hagerstown, but I want you all to know that my heart and soul has always been with Prince George's County, which I have lived close to 50 years. So Destiny, let me introduce you all to Destiny Drake West, and I want her to talk to us for just a few moments about her background and the fact that what she brings to the table.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that very warm and generous introduction. And good evening, everyone. My name is Destiny Drake West, and it is an absolute privilege to be here with you all tonight and to serve as your legislative director for this 2021 session. I am particularly excited about this role because it's the reason why I came to Maryland in the first place. I moved from California with my family because I had heard about the great things that were happening in Prince George's County, particularly for Black people. And I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted my children to be a part of that. And so that's why we're here. We ended up in Montgomery County, but Prince George's County couldn't keep me away. And so I'm just completely excited and just absolutely honored to be here. I'm looking forward to working with each of you to really be even more intentional about winning, getting policy wins on behalf of the residents and stakeholders in Prince George's County. We are at a really interesting time in just politically and socially, where there's kind of a dilemma with the pandemic being an issue for not just all Americans, but particularly for Black and Brown communities. And so I'm hoping that as we work together, we'll be able to really move a needle on progress on that front, which is why I'm really happy to hear from the Prince George's County delegation tonight on their priorities and how I may be of service. So if there's ever anything that any of you need from me, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm always going to just be a phone call or email away. Many of you already have my personal cell number. If you don't, I will be sure to make sure you have that by the end of the evening. So thank you again for this honor.
Thank you very much, Destiny. And we really appreciate the fact that you are on board, and we're about the business of moving the agenda to ensure that, as I said, that Prince George's County gets his fair share and that we are fully informed. And this Senate delegation is bound and determined to work together. I want you all to know that we're patiently waiting for our bills from the House side to come over, but we also have some legislative initiatives on the Senate side that we want to put forth, which will probably occur at our next meeting. And with that, let's get into the agenda. We need, if you look at your agenda, the first item on the agenda is a Prince George's County update relative to the COVID-19 vaccinations and testing. And we have Dr. George Askew, wonderful Dr. George Askew, and wonderful, wonderful Ronald Gills here. And I would ask that they now be in charge of giving us an update and giving us a presentation. Thank you all so much for coming. For being, not coming, for being a part of this discussion tonight, because it's so extremely important. Okay,
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone. Again, Madam Chair, thank you and honorable members of our tremendous Prince George's County Senate delegation. It is truly a privilege and an honor to be here to address you tonight as part of the county update on COVID-19 vaccinations and testing and cases also. I know I don't have a ton of time, but I have a lot of information. I give you as much information as possible in this period. So I'm going to just dive right in. I don't know if you were able to receive my presentation not long ago, but if not, if it's possible for me to share screen, would that be okay?
sure.
Let's see if I can get that up. Let's see. Okay. Share screen. It says host disabled participation. Can we open up the share screen?
Yes, I'm going to get that started for you.
Beautiful. Let me make sure I can get my presentation.
Okay.
All right, we're good. Let's see. Let's do that. And there we go. And can everyone see my screen at this point?
Sure.
Let's see, which screen are you seeing? Are you getting the full presentation that you can see that, all right?
Yes.
Great. So again, thank you. I'm joined by my colleague, Director Gill, and he'll speak after me again. Again, there's a lot of information here. I'm going to go through it quickly because I want to make sure you get it all, but you will have it available to you. I'm going to give you sort of a full update on what's happening in Prince George's County. Oops, let's see. So again, I'm just going to a quick review of what a vaccine is, how do we make them, and what do vaccines do. I know this may be somewhat remedial, but I'll do it quickly just to make sure folks understand, because there are a lot of misunderstandings, and I think a lot of your constituents are probably asking you a lot of questions about this particular COVID-19 vaccine. So vaccines are safe, controlled versions of a virus that people are injected with to develop immunity. Some are also oral, or to protect our bodies from getting the real dangerous version of a virus. Some vaccines are made by scientists in labs by changing the structure or function of a virus to make it look like the virus, but not actually be the virus itself, and generate a response. How does the immune response, or how does your body respond to these vaccines? So when you look at the COVID-19 virus, it has a protein sticking out all around the surface of it. And you've probably all seen pictures of this sort of spiked virus, and it's called the spike or S protein. This S protein is what the virus uses to infect our cells and make us sick. There's something called a messenger RNA, or you often hear it referred to it as mRNA, which is a version of the S protein that was reproduced by the scientists, and it basically copies the instructions on how to make the S protein. The vaccine actually contains no actual parts of the virus. It only has the S protein instructions, so you can't get infected with the COVID-19 virus. What it does, though, is when the virus, this S protein virus mimic enters your body, it the way I like to describe it is it gets your body to react to it as if it were the real vaccine, and produces soldiers. And those soldiers then remain in your body. And the next time it sees something that looks like this S protein, which could potentially be the real virus, your body has a set of soldiers that can fight the virus right at the doorstep, so that they never enter your body. That's how I like to think about it. So the virus can't replicate itself, can't take a stronghold, because there are soldiers that have been produced by the vaccine, your immune response to the vaccine in your body. Again, some of the myths. There are no tracking chips in these vaccines. The vaccine is not a live virus, so it cannot give you the disease. And what's the other? It does not change your DNA. It doesn't do anything to your DNA. So those are the things that people have been very concerned about, and a lot of the rumors that are spreading around not only the county, the state, but the country and the world. What you've been hearing about most recently and what has us concerned are variants. You've heard about the variants from the UK, the variants from South Africa. We've now started to see those variants pop up here. We had the report of 2 cases of the South African variant popping up in Montgomery County just this week. The variant is not more, doesn't make you sicker than the first version of the COVID-19, but it spreads faster. So the issue with the variant is that it spreads faster. And so it's in some ways, some people have described it as being sticky. So it's actually more problematic in that respect. So the more people we can get vaccinated, the faster we can get them vaccinated, because we think the vaccine has a good deal of crossover effect with the variant, the better off we'll be. But we don't have a complete assessment or a complete understanding of how the variants are going to impact us as we move forward. Again, the risk of COVID-19 versus risk of getting the vaccine, people are going to ask a lot of, maybe asking you questions about this. We have a lot of vaccine hesitancy in Prince George's County. Black and brown people have a very good reason to be skeptical of anything the government asks you to take, ingest, or inject into your body. A long-standing history of experimentation on Black and brown bodies, of being misused by the medical system, by government, and we have to overcome that, and we're working hard to overcome that in the county. But when you look at the risk of the vaccine versus the risk of getting the disease, you can clearly see, 1.9 million doses of the vaccine administered, 21 reactions, 0 deaths. 6.4 million cases of COVID, 77,000 deaths. The risk of taking the vaccine as opposed to the risk of not being vaccinated and getting COVID, there's no real comparison. This is a life-saving vaccine, and really the only way we see right now out of this pandemic. So you'll hear a lot of people talking about herd immunity. Again, you'll have this slide available in your packet. If you get vaccinated and you have immunity to the illness, you're also protected from spreading it to others. We don't know if the vaccine completely protects us from spreading it to others, but we certainly know it has a great impact on our ability to spread. So when enough people in a community are immune to the illness, it's unable to spread. That's herd immunity. You don't have to have everybody immunized to obtain herd immunity and keep the disease from spreading. If enough people in the community are immune, either through vaccination or previous infection, it can help stop the spread and end the pandemic. We've about 65% of the people in our county need to become vaccinated in order to get us to herd immunity. 80% would be even better. In this diagram, you see this person in red among these folks is a person who's got the disease. The folks that are white are not vaccinated. The folks who are Black have been vaccinated. That is herd immunity. What you see happening next is that one person could end up infecting all of those other people who weren't vaccinated, because there were so few people who were vaccinated to begin with. When you look at the second diagram, you see that one person there that's not vaccinated, that has the illness, and just sort of a small number of people who aren't immunized or vaccinated. Those other folks are all vaccinated. It's almost impossible to spread the disease to the people you come in contact with. That's when you have herd immunity. So some people, like pregnant women or those with weakened immune systems, probably shouldn't take certain type of vaccines, but overall the benefits of this vaccine, even for folks who have some immunocompromised status, far outweigh the risk of getting the disease itself. People were concerned that this vaccine was rushed through. It actually wasn't rushed through. What the government did was spend a lot of money to be able to speed up the normal process. The vaccine went through all of the normal stages that a vaccine normally has to go through, but by pouring money into it, the manufacturers were able to speed up the process that normally happens. So they were able to do the safety trials faster by engaging more people in the trials. So phase 1 is just safety trials. Phase 2 is usually expansion of those trials. Phase 3 are the sort of efficacy trials. And then you get earlier limited approval, which is what we have now, and then leading to approval of the vaccine, which is what we got when we started getting vaccine coming to us in in December. Again, it wasn't rushed through. It was speeded up by virtue of pouring dollars in so that you could get more people into the trials. You could put more effort into the trials so that those trials would get the right numbers of people to give you the information you needed to be able to say, yes, this vaccine is safe. So current vaccine efforts and products. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, review of vaccine research and trials is difficult, as I just started to go through, and there are protections in place. That's why there's so many different stages to getting vaccines approved, and it's really not easy to pass through FDA tests. Also, all of these hearings that the FDA holds on vaccines are public, so people can participate and listen. So when the FDA concludes that a COVID vaccine is safe and effective, you can be assured that it is safe and effective. Scientists have been working on a coronavirus vaccine for years, not this particular coronavirus vaccine, but similar coronavirus vaccines. So while COVID-19 is new, it belongs to a coronavirus family, and there was a great deal of familiarity with the coronavirus itself. So again, scientists are very comfortable and confident in what we have here in COVID vaccines. In late December, we started vaccinations here in Prince George's County with a 100-dose allocation of the Moderna vaccine from the state. As you may have heard, the Moderna vaccine is a 2-dose vaccine. You get your first dose, and then 28 days later, you get your second dose to confer a 94% efficacy, a 94% protection from COVID-19. Subsequently, we received Pfizer vaccine and have since been ramping up our vaccine efforts throughout the county. The Pfizer vaccine requires a second dose 21 days after the first dose. It has a 95% efficacy. Currently, health department county sites, and Ronnie Gill may talk a little bit more, Director Gill may talk a little bit more about this. What I call our big three, we have a Southern Regional Technical Site that's opened up last week and should be soon capable of doing 500 vaccines per day. We have our sports and learning site in Central County, which is capable of doing 800 vaccines per day. And we have our Laurel Beltsville Senior Center site, which we hope to open up in mid to late May, likely the week of February 15th. We also think we'll be able to do 500 doses per day when that is up to scale. We are doing about 250 at maximum capacity at our Chevrolet Clinic. As you know, the governor is opening up a drive-through site at Six Flags, which is scheduled to open up this Friday. We have multiple partner sites among our hospitals and pharmacies, and Luminous Doctors Hospital is partnering with the Prince George's Community Hospital, Prince George's Community College, rather, to set up a site where they think they will be able to do 2,000 vaccinations per day when they get going. As you can see, it's going to take thousands upon thousands of vaccines a day in order for us to get to that 65%. We anticipate 1.2 million shots are going to have to be given in the county, 1.2 million by summer, and even more by the fall once children are available to be vaccinated in order to get us to the 65 to 80% vaccination level to give us our herd immunity. Now, due to limited availability of the vaccine, of course, we're targeting our highest risk and operations essential folks here in the county, and they're getting the vaccine first. We're already running into issues here in the county, as you've probably seen elsewhere in the country, and you're probably already seen elsewhere in the state, with lack of vaccine availability. We're going to have to slow down giving our first dose vaccines, because the vaccines we have, we're going to have to save for second doses so that people get their second doses on time. So we're already running up against that, as the state is not receiving enough vaccine from the feds. And if they don't receive enough vaccines for the feds, they're not able to apportion out enough vaccine to keep up with the pace that's of vaccine delivery that the communities are starting to deliver. We started off slow. Now we're cranking, and we're already at the position where we're saying we're going so fast the state and the feds can't keep up with us with respect to vaccinations. So quickly, I'll talk about where we are specifically in Prince George's County as of today, so that you'll know exactly what the county is up to. So the health department receives an allocation of vaccine. We are not the only vaccinator in the county, of course. Hospitals receive vaccines, pharmacies receive vaccines, and there are other sources of vaccine that we don't know about because the state doesn't necessarily tell us where all of their vaccine is going. We just know what we get. We're only guaranteed 975 vaccines a week right now. 975 is what the state guarantees us. We don't know when the vaccines will arrive. They arrive in batches. We might get 1,000. We might get 3,000. We might get 2,000. We might not get any. We received a bunch of doses of second dose vaccine today. No first dose vaccines. That's why we're running short on first dose vaccines. All we know is we're guaranteed 975. If you remember, with all those numbers we gave you, we're already doing about 1,200 vaccines per day with our supply. So we'll run through 975, which is our only guaranteed amount in a day right now. So just keep that in mind. As we've ramped up, the states and the feds are not able to keep up. And we're not the only community. This is happening in Montgomery County, Anne Arundel, Howard, everywhere across the state. The health officers are communicating, and my health officer tells me that they're all saying the same thing. We need more vaccine in order for us to keep up the kind of pace that we have going right now. So you can see that the health department itself has delivered over 13,000 vaccines, including nearly 1,500 to Prince George's County public school staff over this last weekend. Even with bad weather, we were able to deliver 1,500 in 2 days during that one effort. And as you can see by quickly, as you can see by looking at this curve, we started off slowly. As we got our sites set up, you can see the steep rise in the curve and our ability to deliver vaccine. And I'll give a better slide for that in a second. This will show you the dilemma that we have with respect to first dose and second dose. Now, while it says here we've utilized less than 60% of the vaccine that we've received to date in the health department, you'll notice that we've given out over 13,000 vaccines. We've been given 22,000. Most of those vaccines that we've given out are first dose vaccines. We've used up over 80% of our first dose vaccines. We'll be out of first dose vaccine in a couple of days, and we're not allowed to use second dose vaccine for first dose. The state has made it clear if we start doing that, that they will interrupt our supply of vaccines. So we're not actually allowed, unfortunately. Unfortunately, because the supply isn't quite there. But this will show you the ramping up that we've done with respect to vaccine. Remember, I mentioned those. We got that first 100 doses. Took a couple weeks to get those out as we were ramping up. Then we started to open up our sites for soft openings to make sure we knew how things were running. Last couple of weeks, we've been scaling up. And then in the last week, we doubled our vaccine effort. So we went from quadrupling it to then doubling it again. And we gave well over 5,500 vaccines just in the last week. And we would be on pace to do that again if we could keep up, if the state could keep up with us with respect to vaccine delivery. Again, looking at where the vaccines are going. Remember when we started this, it was 1A, and those are mostly first responders, fire, police, health professionals. Those were the folks that were leading getting the vaccine. A lot of those folks are from out of the county. We had to vaccinate them. We vaccinate folks who work in the county who don't live here. This other category, this shows that the other category includes mostly those folks who are over the age of 75. So we're doing a really good job of getting at our senior population, which is a critical target for us. And anybody who knows the county executive knows how she feels about her seniors. She loves her seniors. And so again, you'll look here at the numbers of vaccines given. Of course, again, we started with first responders, and folks who work in the hospital systems. That's why you see the ages of people were sort of 30 to 64 years old, but now we're really picking up with the 70, the 65 and older crowd. And I'll show you the percentages of those folks who've been vaccinated, which gives a better in another slide. There are a lot of folks who were worried that we were giving out too much vaccine to other people in other counties. This will show that right now, despite the fact that we had to base 1A largely on employment and not residency, we've been able to give out 65% of the vaccine delivered from the health department has gone to Prince George's County residents. This will show you where we have to get to, and this is our challenge. We want to get to 65% of our residents who are over age 16 by summer of 2021. We've given over 30,000 doses of vaccine to date. That's about 6.5% of the way towards our goal. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we've got to keep up this pace and quadruple it essentially to make sure we get to where we need to get. That's thousands of vaccines that'll need to be delivered every day. A lot of it will have to be delivered by our partner organizations, hospitals, pharmacies, et cetera. Again, this will show you, again, that steep curve of here's how we've been doing with respect to our vaccine, increasing those numbers daily. This will, again, another look at vaccines by age. I point you to the far right. Of our 85-plus-year-olds, we've reached almost 17% of that, of those folks. We've reached over 14%, nearly 15% of our 75 to 84-year-olds. This is clearly where our concentration of our efforts has been. You can see we're having success at reaching those folks, despite the fact that we had to start with first responders and healthcare folks in terms of who we were vaccinating. Again, this is the slide that has me most concerned. I am a big proponent of social justice and equity and making sure that we have an equitable distribution of vaccine. I think these numbers will change as we get out of the phases that point us toward specific populations that we have to vaccinate. But when I look at this slide and I look at particularly our Latinx population, the fact that we've only gotten to 1.6% of that group is concerning. It's concerning that we've only gotten to 3.5% of our African American and Black community. And I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this and being not just keeping an eye on it, but be very intentional and unapologetic about targeting those populations and making sure those folks are at the front of the line and that we're doing all we can to remove vaccine hesitancy, which I think is one of our problems with Black and brown folks. Just a couple more slides, just to give you a sense of where we are on our cases. This is the good news right now. If you look at our positivity rate, we look at a positivity rate of over 10 as a problem. Our positivity rate has been dropping throughout the month of January. What this all means is when these numbers start to drop, we start thinking about the possibility of reopening things. As you know, the county executive already reopened indoor dining a week or so ago. As we told her, look, the numbers are looking a little bit better. She even pushed us harder and said, you know, I want to open up now. And we were able to go along with her and say, yeah, we should. So that's our positivity rate, which is going down, which is great. Again, we want that to be under 10. Oops, I think I skipped one. This, if you look at the trend again through January, we had a high of 773 cases on January 4th. Since then, the peaks have been much lower, and we're generally a trend down. We're dropping about 20, 15, 10% each week in the number of cases overall. Again, just the kind of trend that we want to see. We don't know what's going to happen with this variant, and if this variant takes hold, this could reverse itself, and we're hoping that that's not going to happen. But what we're seeing now makes us very happy. Again, with respect to cases per 100,000 cases per 100,000 per day, again, the critical number we look for is over 25. We've been over 25 for quite a while now, but we're starting to trend down and quickly getting towards that 25 number, which is high, but it is not a number that keeps us from opening things up. Once we're below 25, we start to feel a little bit more comfortable about opening up more of our county. This is the infection rate. What the infection rate measures is the probability that if you have COVID, that you will infect one or more other persons. If the infection rate is above 1, that means you will get coronavirus and that you are likely to give it to at least one other person. When the infection rate is below 1, that means the likelihood that you give it to one other person is less than 1. And when it gets below 0.9, that means the virus isn't spreading. When you're above 1, that means the virus is spreading. When you're in that red range, like 1.4, that means the virus is spreading in an uncontrolled fashion. Right now, we're in a low range, which is a great thing for us. It means whatever we're doing in terms of our own measures and the way our population is behaving is keeping us from infecting each other. Last couple of things. This is the thing that has us still a little on edge. Our hospital beds have stayed around 200, in this case, 210. We want to see that number drop dramatically. We want to make sure that we always have capacity to take care of people who are not only sick with COVID, but sick with other things that they may be coming into the hospital with. So we're hoping to see those numbers start to go down soon. The good thing is our hospital capacity has maintained itself fairly high. We like to see it at above 50%. That means 50% of the beds in the hospital are available to take care of people in case something really went wrong. Right now, we're at 48%, and it's been hovering around 48, 49% over the last week or so. And finally, these are the numbers that we look at to make decisions about whether or not we open the county. So green means we're very confident and opening. Yellow means we're a little cautious. The orange means we're still cautious. Red means we're in critical zone. If you get these 4 indices into a critical zone, everything is closed without a doubt. As you know, we've been slowly reopening things as we've gotten into a positivity of about 7.0. We hope to see that drop to around 5 within the coming days and weeks. We have an infection rate which is now below 0.9. We hope that that'll stay where it is. Once we get to an average cases of 10 to 25, which again, we're headed in that direction, and then see a hospital capacity hover around 50%, we will be in a much better place to begin to continue opening up the government. But we have been doing this in a conservative but data-based and data-driven way throughout the pandemic, and we're going to continue to do that and advise the county executive based on this data. She's a very smart woman. She's a very fast learner. I'm going to start calling her Dr. Also Brooks because she's got her PhD in public health now after with this pandemic for a year. And it's a pleasure to work with her and work for her. And with that said, rather than take questions, I think I'm going to let my colleague go, unless you want me to take questions now, Madam Chair.
I think in lieu of time, I think what we need to do is to have the questions asked now. And if your partner wants to make just a few remarks, because we do have another very important presentation that we need to put before the senators.
So Senator Benson, it's Ronnie Gill. I'm comfortable. Dr. Askew went over a large majority of speaking points I had. If there are things, especially regarding the logistics, you touched on some, and if there are questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I have a question, Senator Benson. Obi?
Do we have any question from any of our senators at this point?
Patterson. I don't.
Yes.
Okay. I got a question for Dr. Is it Askew? Yeah. I guess these numbers cause me some concern in terms of those who've already got the vaccine. I did a little quick tally. You said African American about 3.5 and Asian like 4.7. But when I look at African-American Latinos, you come up with an overall score about 5.1, but Asian and white, we end up with a score about 12.2. So why aren't those why the minorities are not taking full advantage of this? What's the difference? What's happening? I mean, given the fact that we at least 80% Black and brown in the county, I would expect these numbers to be a little higher.
Can we answer that question, Ronnie or
Yes, yes, and Dr. Askew just said he just was booted off, so I'm assuming he's coming back on. Couple of things I can share with you, Senator Patterson. Number one, if we looked at who was tested in phase 1A, and that's where we started with, those were a number of folks that work in our hospital systems, and also those in public safety. The numbers are as they are. If we look at a number of our first responders, a large majority are not African American, and that's in all the first responder communities, and as well as in some of the hospital systems. So those were the ones that were the first to get get vaccinated. As we roll into 1B, where we start looking at our seniors, 75 and older, some of our other populations, we'll see those numbers definitely tick up. As Dr. Askew said, we're very conscientious on making sure our socioeconomic folks, our Black and brown communities, this is Prince George's County, are captured in these numbers.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll be waiting for round 2.
Yes, sir.
Madam
are there any
Chair.
other questions? Senator Augustine?
Yeah, Dr. Askew and Director Gill, thank you for the presentation. I know Dr. Askew's not here. I was looking, I don't see that presentation. I don't see that I have the presentation. I definitely would like to have that presentation because that's very powerful, what you all shared. And I also just, from a commentary standpoint, this is like a wake-up call for me, just based on the volume or lack of volume of tests that we're going to be able to get. I mean, we're in this for a long haul. I just got to kind of communicate that with my constituents in a very serious way, that we're going to be in this social distancing and everything else for a long time. So I just appreciate the presentation because it kind of sets my mind in a little bit of a different place. So thank you.
I'm sorry, I lost connection for a while there. My internet has died on my computer, so I'm on my phone now.
Madam Chair.
I'm just wondering what role we can play in the way of getting the federal government to pass down the supply of vaccines that we need so that our people can be vaccinated. It starts from what I hear from you, it starts from the federal level and it goes down to the state. But I'm also interested in knowing the role that the state is playing in the way of ensuring that the number of the supply is available in Prince George's County, since we're leading the state with the highest number of people who are in need of the vaccines, and with the high percentage of people with COVID-19. So I think that we do need to have. I'm going to suggest that we as senators send a letter to the federal people to insist that they help us to ensure that Dr. Fauci is going to come here on Monday night, from what I'm hearing, to sit with us, to sit with the county leadership relative to this whole issue. But we need to get the vaccine here in Prince George's County so people can be vaccinated.
Yeah, and I think
Also,
Senator
Dr. Askew,
yes, ma'am.
With Senator Augustine, I'd like to ask that you be sure that all of us get a copy of the presentation tonight, because it certainly is very sobering.
Great, and I think clearly have to do as much level setting as we can for folks, even in the best of circumstances with vaccine. There's so many folks that need to be vaccinated. People, it's going to be weeks, if not months, before some folks are vaccinated. And I know a lot of people are going to be very anxious about that. But it's just this is the, as I said, back in November, that we have to recognize that this is not just a Prince George's issue or a Maryland issue or a United States issue. This is a worldwide issue, and vaccine manufacturers are trying to pump out enough vaccine to get 65% of the world's population vaccinated for COVID. It is an undertaking unlike anything else we've ever seen before. And so we have to make sure that we set the right expectations for folks. I think the previous federal administration did not do a very good job of level setting, made promises that were ridiculous. To say that 20 million people would be vaccinated by the end of December, set the idea that much vaccine was available and able to get out and into a system. There was no federal system or plan, which meant that there was not a very good state plan, and which meant that we're building this plane as we fly it. We essentially were given vaccine and told, okay, figure it out. We figured it out, and now that we've got it figured out, we're running out of our supply of vaccine.
Dr. Askew, Madam Chair, just one more really quickly. The seniors in my district who have signed up are very anxious because they haven't heard anything. Is it possible that you all can at least send them or somebody send an email that just tells them that they're on the list? I mean, they're really anxious. They're not sure if they're on the list, if they're not on the list. So I just ask if there's some way to just let them know that, that they are actually on the list. I think it would help with a lot of the anxiety, at least in District 47.
I agree.
For all those folks that are pre-registered, just to send them a message simply, yep, we know you've pre-registered. We got you. We're going to get to you. It may be a while, but yes, you don't have to do anything more at this point. We know you're on the list. That kind of reassurance.
Please, that would really
Okay.
help. Thank you.
Senator Griffin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to ask, similar to my colleague, do we have a sense of how many people are waiting in queue, and whether or not we have marketing strategies in the state? We've been talking about putting some supplemental funding through the governor's relief bill. We amended funding in to help local jurisdictions do some marketing outreach and education. And I'm just wondering if that is a need we have in the county, or if we have such a backlog of people registered that getting people, the hesitancy isn't the issue.
I would say that we have enough people. We have enough people on the rolls. I think what will happen though is once it gets to be opened up more widely and a lot of vaccine becomes available, we are going to need that outreach, because I think that's really when the hesitancy is going to take hold. And I'll give an example. Vaccine was readily available for folks in hospitals, hospital staff, healthcare professionals, public health people. Hospitals could barely get 50% of their people to take the vaccine, 50%.
Okay, so do you have a sense of how long the waiting list or the backlog is at this point?
What we're telling folks, we're in 1A, we're serving 1A and 1B, and we'll be serving 1C soon, but we think those folks in 1C won't start hearing from us until the middle of March at the earliest.
I guess more what I'm looking for is we have 8,000 people that are signed up in queue waiting, and as soon as the vaccinations become available, we'll plug them into one of our FQHCs or one of our centers or one of our hospital sites. That's what I was trying to get a sense of.
We won't know, because we don't know how much vaccine we're going to get and when. And Dr. I keep calling you. We keep calling him Dr. Gill because he's been at this for a while. Director Gill, go ahead.
The only senator I just wanted to share, we have roughly 25,000 who are eligible for 1A and another 95,000 eligible for 1B. So, I think, as Dr. Askew said, if we had 95,000 doses, we would be pushing those out. But because we're getting minimal amount of dosages, We have to prioritize it, and we're prioritizing our 1B with our seniors 75 and older. That's the group we're starting with. But
I get that. I got that. I'm just really, I guess I'm not asking the question correctly. Similar to what Senator Augustine asked about the people that are registered and anxious to get the test and waiting on the supply. Do we have a sense? I know there's like tens of thousands of eligible based on our categories,
Yeah.
but I was just trying to get a sense of how many of those folks are able to interact with the computerized enrollment system and are waiting for some sort of response.
Right. How many people have already been pre-registered? Like how many are in our roles? And I actually don't have that handy, but we can get that information to you.
That'd be helpful. That would be
Can I,
helpful.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, can I follow up Senator Augustine as well? Two quick questions. I've heard some examples where people have come up and they didn't have there were appointments, but there was no vaccine. Are you notifying people who have pre-registered, and if that day you're going to run short, and letting them know so they don't have to drive or take public transportation to the location?
Senator, we have not had that problem here in Prince George's County as yet. We've been very diligent about making sure that folks who currently have appointments for first dose vaccine or second dose vaccine, if they show up, we have vaccine available. So we haven't turned away anybody who for reasons of not having vaccine.
And are you keeping emails in case that happens, where you can contact people before they leave their home, like day before?
Yeah, we would not let it get to the point where anybody would be scheduled for a vaccine and potentially showing up and having us run out during the course of the day.
Okay, final question, Madam Chair. I think, Dr. Askew, you said 1,500 teachers or educators were vaccinated on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
I think there are 8,000 or 9,000 teachers and another 10,000 support staff. Obviously, returning kids to schools has been a big debate and question. Is there a separate batch of vaccines to take care of teachers, or are they coming from the 1,000 a week?
They were coming from that 1,000 a week. Plus, we are partnering with Kaiser, who they're also vaccinating our school teachers and staff, and they're capable of doing about 1,500 a week. With our work at Sports and Learning and their work doing 1,500 a week, our goal was to get our teachers and staff ready in case we were going back to school later in the spring. Now, I will say that's all dependent on vaccine availability, and the teachers and staff have been surveyed. Only 9,000 of them have said that they would be willing to take the vaccine. So we have to get through 9,000 people.
And you said there are 1,000 a week, so we don't know how many of those 1,000 are going to teachers and educators.
Oh, that's what we're guaranteed from the state right now is 1,000 a week. We get 2,000, we get 3,300. This week we didn't get any first dose resupply. We only got second dose resupply. Yeah. So we're starting to see that tail off. So yes, we were able to do over 5,500 vaccines just in the health department. That's just the health department. So Kaiser is a separate batch of vaccine. Right. Hospitals all a separate batch. Pharmacies all a separate batch.
Right. Okay. Thank you,
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes. I wanted to recognize Senator Rosapap and then Senator Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, very, very much. I just wanted, I appreciate everything the county is doing on this, and it's very challenging, and we're the hot spot in the state for the virus. So what we're doing is very, very important, and I appreciate this conversation. I'm on the Senate vaccine oversight group that meets every Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock with the Secretary of Health to find out what's going on. And I just wanted to give a little perspective from that point of view. It's a chaotic mess.
Yeah, it is.
It's a chaotic mess because the state health department has not gotten its act together. And so we're trying to help them do it. They want to do it. Hopefully it'll improve. The county health department is only one piece of the puzzle. That's an important idea here. Exactly as Dr. Askew said, the state is sending vaccines to the county health department to the pharmacies to do the senior citizens and the nursing homes, to Kaiser, which they should, because so many of our people are in Kaiser and in Prince George County, but they have a statewide network. And now the Biden administration has announced that starting next, I guess Thursday, the 11th of February, they have a national program to get vaccines out through pharmacies across the United States, including in Maryland. The one in Prince George County is going to be in Bowie. I don't know. There are probably a bunch of CVS's in Bowie. I don't know which it is. But there are multiple streams here, of which the health department, the county health department, is only one. That's the bad news. The good news is that the Biden administration is cleaning up after the Trump administration, and they're trying to put some coherence into this. They have guaranteed the state for the first time starting last week that for the next 3 weeks, the state will get at least 88,000 doses. And this distinction between first doses and second doses is a little bit of a conceptual fantasy. A second dose is only a second dose when it goes in the arm of a person who got a first dose. The doses are the same thing. A dose is a dose. And one of the problems that was created by the Trump administration's confusion was that people were hoarding doses. And one of the things we heard in testimony on Monday is we have a couple of 100,000 doses that are allocated to Maryland that have not put in people's arms. And so one of the issues that the health department in George County has to deal with is getting the doses that are not being used by other folks. The additional issue, though, and you've seen this in the newspaper, is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is coming online probably in March. Moderna thinks they can increase their capacity. So I think in real life, well, it's a catastrophe now. I'm not disagreeing with that in any way. I hear from my constituents. I know it. Over the next 4 or 5 weeks, the supply is going to materially increase. And so I think one of the ways we need to think about this, and I know the health department is working on it, which is terrific, is we have to scale up the capacity to deliver it in the next month or month and a half, because that's when we're really going to get to scale. So I just want to pass that on. Happy to work with everybody on this. Anything I can do to help, I'm happy to do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
And I'll give a little bit more perspective on that 88,000 number, because I was told that yesterday by someone from the state. Where the state's also saying that this across the state, 18 to 20,000 doses are being delivered into arms a week. So simple math, with 5 days of giving vaccine at 20,000 a day, that's 100,000 vaccine. So even the 88,000 can't keep up with the current pace, and that current pace is going to have to be dramatically increased. But I agree, Senator, we have to be ready when that big tranche of vaccine becomes available. We're gonna have to be able to meet not only the demand, but the infrastructure to get vaccines into the arms of people who want it and get it done quickly.
Senator Jackson.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. It's just a quick question for Dr. Askew. The second round of the vaccine takes place roughly a month later, correct?
3 weeks for Pfizer and 4 weeks for Moderna.
Yeah. So that just popped in my head when we talked about the vaccination process for our teachers and the hope for, getting educators back in the school systems, and I'm sure, the angst that parents have, and as well as the educators have in getting back in the classrooms. Thank you for that response. Secondly, I think from our perspective here in Annapolis, please, I was on the COVID group on the House side. I'm just recently over on the Senate side, but we certainly appreciate this presentation. Looking forward to the PowerPoint. But please, any information you all have is never too small, as we're dealing with this. So please use us as your partner going forward. Director Gill and I are connected, but just please use us as we move forward. too many questions, too long of a period and as Senator Rospep mentioned, the challenges on the state level. So just wanted to lend you that.
I would ask that you stay very closely connected with our legislative director, because as she gets the information, she's definitely going to get it to us. The presentation tonight is very, very important for us, because I mean, this is serious business, and it's a top priority for us here in Prince George's County, because we're about the business of working as closely as we know how with you all to do whatever is necessary. If it's a state problem, a federal problem, whatever the problem is, we're prepared to step up to the plate to help you all to ensure that Prince George's County citizens are well served. So I'm going to ask you all to stay very closely connected with our legislative director, and to be sure that we have the packet for tonight's presentation.
Will do. And that's why I put so much information. I'm sorry I went through it so quickly, but I thought it was important that you have all of that information at your fingertips.
Yeah, I think that's, I really wanted to say thank you so much, because this sure has been an eye-opener for us, because we're serious about working to ensure that the vaccinations are delivered promptly to the senior citizens and the citizens here in Prince George's County. And whatever we need to do, we have to write a letter, whatever we need to do, we're prepared to do it. We want you to know that.
Thank you. It's good to know you got our back, Madam Chair.
We surely do. So thank you all very, very much.
Madam Chair, just wanted to share this information with Senator Griffin. Roughly 10,300 have registered for 1A and a little over 30,000 for 1B.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. That's very helpful information. I would
Oh,
not have
yes, it
expected that.
is.
I would not have expected that. Thank you for getting that for me.
No problem.
Mhm. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
We want to move swiftly on to, thank you all very much for being with us tonight. And we
It's a
look
pleasure.
hearing from you from time to time. Okay. The second has to do
Take
with,
care.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying, take care. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. What's coming up now is the Minority Business Enterprise MBE program. This has been something that's very much of a concern for us, particularly the Vice Chair, Senator Patterson. Do you want to make some remarks relative the procurement and this whole issue here of minority business participation, the program? We want to hear from you all tonight. And we're very fortunate to have 4 people who can bring this to the forefront. Okay, Barry, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm ready. Good evening, Senators, and Senator Benson, thank you for inviting us here this evening. I think you said Senator Obie Patterson wanted to make comments before I open up, if you want.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to all. We spent all day today in my meeting, in my committee, talking about this very subject, procurement, MBEs, and contracts. And I think we probably could have spent another 2 or 3 days further talking about it. But it's time to stop talking. I think we want to see some concrete progress, some good action. I'm happy that President Pro Tem is here with us, because she chaired a very important committee, equity, inclusion, wealth, and environment, and 1 or 2 others. And Brother Mr. Jackson got a copy of it, but I would strongly encourage you, if haven't got a copy of it, please download it and take a look at it, read it thoroughly, because we spent a lot of time, we worked hard, and things got a little rough from time to time, but we knew what we was charged to do, and we think we got the job done. But I would say, Mr. Stanton, I guess you're gonna have the lead here. I am concerned about the procurement aspects as it relates to our public schools. I get a lot of feedback from people in the community
Mhm.
not getting paid in a timely manner. And I think you and I go far back on a lot of.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
And I can tell you a lot of it not, we haven't got it, but I understand that very soon we're going to get something that we put some money in the budget for about 3 years ago, right?
We're gonna make some, and I'll give you an update. I'll give the.
Okay. All right. Well, with
Yeah.
that, Madam Chair, I think you now wait to hear from the group.
Okay, let me just say this. I think we have a PowerPoint if you haven't got it, but I'll go over where we are with purchasing in general and where we are with MBE. Let me just say I've been here 2 years and 3 months right now. The first thing that was on my plate was purchasing. That was a primary issue because of the legislative audit. We made some changes in that area. As far as a director, to be honest with you, I was without a director for almost a year. Now, understand, I've been here 2 years and 3 months, but for a whole year, I did not have a director for a number of reasons. We had a lot of issues in procurement and purchasing that I had to address. I think when you see this presentation, we're on our way to make those changes now. I feel very confident where we are at this particular time. It's taken me a year and a half to get to this point. And the reason is, one, we haven't had a director. I got rid of the director when I came on board for a number of reasons. I won't get into that. But Dr. Golson made it clear that she wanted changes in procurement. We brought in a consultant, Basilio, to look at the entire procurement process and the structure and the staffing and all those things. And part of that was MBE. So at this point, to move forward, what I have done in the last 4 months, finally, we have hired a new director, and he'll be introducing himself in a few minutes. He's a professional. He's from the federal government. He's got a substantial procurement background. He's already started making some changes in the school system with my support and Dr. Goldson's support. We have Wes Owens, who's my MBE coordinator, that's been working with me and Keith Stewart to talk about how do we make progress in MBE moving forward. Not just moving forward, but even when I came on board, I made some changes. So, and we met with a number of MBE companies since I've been here and prior to bringing the new director on board. And finally, which everybody's really wants to know about, is our P3 project, with how we're doing with MBEs and how that's going to address the improvements in our process with building schools. So at this point, if we can bring the PowerPoint up, I'll start with Keith Stewart. He's our new director of purchasing. He just started in October. He's been there 4 months, and he'll give you an overview of what his marching orders have been and where we're going with MBE. And then we'll introduce Wes Owens to talk about the MBE coordinator, and finally, Jason Washington. So if we can bring up the PowerPoint and go to the next slide, please. We already gave that overview. I gave that overview. Next slide, please. That's the MBE. We won't read that to you. That's self-explanatory what our MBE requirement is in the school system. Next slide, please. So why don't we talk a little bit, Keith Stewart, Director Stewart, if you can sort of give an overview of, since you've been here, where we're going, and then we'll introduce Wes Owens.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for inviting us to the meeting. Obviously, Mr. Stanton introduced me as Keith Stewart. I'm the new director. Been there for every bit of 4 months, and it's definitely been a challenge and an experience. But my marching orders as it relates to the MBE program was, one, to increase the diversity and the number of contracts and professional service providers that actively compete and win contracts in the county. And the second goal was to develop policies and procurement strategies so we can not only meet the MBE goals that have been set by the board, but exceed them as well. So, we've been actively participating or getting together, developing strategies, and Mr. Owens will take us through the slide presentation to show you what we've been doing thus far. So, Wes?
Thank you, Keith. Members of the Senate delegation, Madam Chair. The MBE program purpose We hosted or took part in approximately 12 workshops and training programs pre-COVID. And as a voice for subcontractors, we advocate for MBE, CBCs to be paid and to be paid on time. We also work to increase qualified MBE participants through workshops, training programs, and outreach events. And finally, our MBE compliance monitoring helps ensure that MBEs are not placed on projects without their knowledge or consent, and that liquidated damage fees are assessed to those prime contractors who are in non-compliance.
Excuse me, Wes, before you move forward, let me just respond to something the senator said earlier about the issue of payment and people complaining about being paid on time. That has been an issue. Trust me, I've gotten a number of those concerns as well as Keith Owens, but I wanted to respond to that before he goes further. A large percentage of the complaints that we have been getting is within our capital program department, not in our procurement department. Our capital program department has had some issues with paying people on time through our capital program, through our finance department. So right as of today and previously before that, we made some staffing improvements. We put financial analysts in there. We put timelines in there. We started having meetings with financing, and we're hiring a supervisor to oversee the financing piece of capital programming, not so much from the finance side for the school system, but a lot of the issues, and I'll be honest, have been with the staffing issue in my capital program area that we are addressing now. Keith, if you want to respond what you've been doing to even get that piece in line before I let Wes move on, because I think that's very important.
Yes, as Mr. Stanton said, we in purchasing are definitely increasing our resources, but the invoices as it relates to contracts that are non-CIP contracts, most of them are getting paid on time, and we're not getting many complaints from our vendor population. But we are getting the resources in here to have a procurement office that is going to be not only efficient, but we're going to be compliant with all the state and local laws that are put in front of us today. So we've been doing a whole lot of things to make the adjustments with Mr. Stanton and Dr. Golson's support. And we look forward to the future of what we're going to be doing in purchasing.
Okay, Wes, I'm sorry, but I wanted to get that statement out there. Wes?
Thank you.
Yeah, can we go to the next slide, please? State and county funded MBE goals. State funded construction projects have a minimum overall of 30% with sub goals of 8% African American and 11% women owned. The sub goals were just updated as of August the 1st based on the results of the most recent disparity study. For county funded projects, there's an overall goal of 30% and with a minimum of 15%.
Is that where you are right now with the county funded construction projects? As opposed to what we see of 8% for African Americans in a county of over 80% African American?
Those sub goals are a result of a disparity study. We don't have anything to do with that. Actually, the previous disparity study had 7% African Americans and 4% Asian owned businesses. But now it's been switched to 8.5% African American, and 11% women owned businesses. And the county side, that's pretty standard. That's where we are right now at 30% overall with a 15% minimum.
Next slide.
Mm-hmm. In order to be counted for MBE participation, our subcontractors need to be certified by these three organizations: MDOT for county, Prince George's County Supplier Diversity Development Diversity Division, and Regional Authority, WMATA. So when we held workshops, we always had representatives from those organizations there to help subcontractors become certified with those entities. Next slide, please. These are the MB dollar amounts and percentages last year, FY 19-20. As you can see, over 200 million new bid dollars were awarded in FY 19-20. The MBE prime and subcontractors awards were just under 30%, which is over the 30% requirement for state-funded projects. The MBE prime and subcontractor awards were right between the 15% and 30% overall when it came to county-funded projects. And finally, our CBE contracts awards of 20% matched the proposed county-funded projects. We're proposing for the first time a 20% minimum for county-funded projects. And finally, on the expenditure side, of the $686 million vendor dollars spent in FY 19-20, roughly a quarter of those dollars went to county-based businesses. Next slide, please. Upcoming procedural enhancements. As a result of our outreach efforts, we had a chance to talk with the community, and they gave us what their concerns were, and we had a lot of discussions when it came down to what can we do to reduce some of those obstacles of doing business with Prince George's County Public Schools. And as a result, the enhancements are coming in the form of our AP 3325. And as I discussed earlier, we are adding a 20% minimum for county-based businesses on all county-funded projects. We also have amended our bonus points program. Basically, the buyer can assign bonus points by adjusting the bid price submitted up to 15% for county-based MBEs. Basically, that means, for instance, if the lowest bid was $100,000 and the bid of a qualified CMBE was $115,000, the qualified CMBE would be offered the opportunity to accept the adjusted bid price of $115,000 and then would be considered the lowest responsible bidder, thus being awarded that project at the adjusted bid price. We also are adding a PGCPS, MBE, CBB participation requirements for rider contracts in order to increase our CBB and CBB participation on county-funded projects.
Wes, just hold on a minute. If I could explain this too, this is very big to me. I think I've said this to you before when I came on board, and I want the senators to be aware of this. Prince George's County, for some reason, before I got here, did a lot of rider contracts for services. When I started looking at the rider contracts, a lot of the rider contracts were not within Prince George's County. Let me be clear.
Right.
They were from Montgomery County. They were from Fairfax County. They were from Baltimore County.
California and all this other
The riders, I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a procurement program. The way we have been, and I'll say this because I'm part of this now, but the way they have been using riders in the past is that they've been using riders to do routine work and use it that we need the business now. And when you do a rider, nobody wants to do the work in the school system to create an RFP to do a procurement process. The riders are used pretty much to make our job easier. You don't have to put together an RFP. You don't have to put together specs. You're following specs of some other school district. And what I found out by doing that, we have not included any MBE requirement that we tack onto a rider from another county. Now understand, I'm gonna be clear, and I said this to Dr. Golson, while we can add these MBE requirements to the rider contracts, there's two approaches to this process that I'm gonna take. One is if we attack it and tie it to a rider from, say, Montgomery County or Baltimore County, keep in mind, we're asking the rider contract. They do not have to honor our MBE request. When we add that to say to your rider contract, we like for you to honor our MBE, because keep in mind that contract was developed by Montgomery County, Baltimore County, not by Prince George's County. So what we want to do is try to add that MBE piece to a rider contract. Now that may not fly with the contractor. The contractor can say, look, I got a contract in Montgomery County. I don't want to honor your MBE, so I'm not going to let you ride my contract. My position is great. But then the next step, which I've directed my procurement director, Mr. Keith Stewart here, is, okay, let's get rid of these rider contracts and create our own RFP by making sure we've got our 10 major services that we want, from HVAC to air conditioner to painting to carpentry to asbestos. If we create our own riders, which we're going to do for those services, instead of relying on a contract from Montgomery and Baltimore County, we create our own RFP. We put our own RFP on the street. We put our own MBE requirements in. And what we will find is you're going to get local-based contractors to participate in the school system. And my goal is to bring the riders down and bring the RFPs up so local-based contractors can bid on this contract within our school system. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I am not happy with the way we have used riders in the school system. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I get off. That's my bandwagon. I'm sticking to it. So go ahead, Mr. West.
Well, I definitely agree with everything that you said. Definitely agree. Another procedural enhancement is that we're offering is based on our outreach events is a multi-tiered, multi-discipline jock order contract, which simply means that pre-qualified vendor contractors will have a lower dollar amount bonding capacity requirements, and they will be added targeted contract disciplines to maximize MBE participation. And Mr. Stat basically said it. As we target our contracts, we want to target areas where we have high density of MBEs and county-based businesses to increase the pool. And finally, we are teaming with Prince George's County Education and Community Partners to host an MBE CBB outreach event via Zoom on Tuesday, February 23rd. And once we get all the particulars in place, we'd love to reach out to you all and give the link to you so you can give that link to your folks at the same time. With that,
excuse me, Wes, how are you all getting that out to the public, to the people?
I have a database of about 2,000 folks. And I tap into MDOT, I tap into Prince George's County Supply University. My own database has about 700 vendors in it as well. So it's gonna get out there, but we need your help. And
okay,
so
all right.
We'll hopefully that you'll partner with us to get the word out.
Okay.
Okay.
Next slide.
With that, I'll turn it over to Jason, who will discuss the PGCPS Blueprint Schools program.
And just, Jason, before you go, let me just say this. Jason has been here 4 months too. You know, I think it's been a little longer than 4 months, but anyway, he's overseeing our P3 project. And part of that, he can talk about the MBE county-based requirements of the projects. He's been pretty busy for the last 4 months getting this thing up and running. And I want to thank all the senators and the council members for getting this program going, and our board members. We're going to be building 6 schools in the next 2.5 years, and we're looking forward to it. So Jason, you're on.
Well, thank you so much, Chief Stanton. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Once again, I am here to lay out the MBE, CBB, CBSB requirements set up in our project agreement, which it's the P3, but we've rebranded it Blueprint Schools program. One thing to note is that our requirements are based on project cost and total procured dollars, not participation. And so that's the first difference as we talk about 30%. And as set forth here, the developer, Prince George's County Education and Community Partners, which is a joint partnership between Gilbane Building Company and Fingate Capital, is required to procure at least $127.7 million in the next 2.5 years. If they fail to do so, there is a 25% penalty of the number that they missed, the deficit. And that penalty is assessed both during the design build period, which is through the design and build to the delivery of the schools in 2023. And it resets, and there's another penalty period that begins for the services period. And so this is to really make it clear that we're serious about this, and we wanted significant skin in the game, so to speak, from the developer as we move forward. Further, as it relates to reporting, I'm going to be working with Wes and Keith and the developer to put together a publicly facing dashboard that will lay out accurately where we are relative to dollars spent, procured, relative to the bid packages that have gone out. And one final thing is that this requirement and this minimum amount of procurement dollars is non-waivable. And so there is no waiver, there is no best efforts. This is the requirements that are set forth in the agreement. Next slide, please. To date, Prince George's County Education and Community Partners, along with us, we have convened 2 outreach forums. We've drawn over we've had 2. We've drawn over 400, I've been told today, MBEs and CBBs. We additionally have a forum at the second Thursday of every month through at least May. And they are partnering up with, they partnered up with Prince George's Chamber of Commerce. They are partnering with Wes and the MBE department for the school system. In addition, they are hosting the next outreach event next Thursday, and I can forward the flyer. They send it out to everyone that is registered on the website, and I will give you that address in a moment. Every month, they send out an announcement. We're actually doing 2 outreach events this month. The 11th and the 23rd that Wes mentioned earlier. And the whole goal of this is to, 1, outline opportunities that are available within this program and opportunities from helping with partnering opportunities, matchmaking, and one Tuesday, the second Tuesday, I believe, of every month, they also do pre-qualification trainings. So they will work with any business to get pre-qualified into their program and into their bid program to ensure that they receive notices of all of the bids when they come out as they qualify. Finally, that's not here, we are also going to be launching a mentor protege program as well for smaller community-based businesses, specifically focused on MBEs based in Prince George's County. We will be starting to ramp that up later this spring, early summer, with the goal of bringing companies in and helping them build capacity so that they are able to be pre-qualified as they leave that process and leave that program, but to also be directed to opportunities throughout the whole school system, not just with the P3, because there is consistent work and consistent bid opportunities through the capital program piece of our procurement. And we want to make sure that, this is a front door to all of the opportunities for procuring with the school system. And so next slide. And
Okay, we're open to any other questions.
I have one question I want to ask. How are you all bringing in the students in the high schools that are involved in a number of these programs? Do you all have a program where you involve I heard you say something about a internship. I'm looking for, that's not the right word.
We have an apprenticeship program in our school system right now, in maintenance and those kind of things right now, that we hire students in, and we've expanded that this year, and hopefully we can hire a lot more students. Additionally, through working with our contractors, they are going to be responsible for hiring some of our students as we move forward in this process. So Jason, you can talk a little bit about, or Wes.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, as it relates to the Blueprint Schools initiative, the developer has committed to over $4 million in kind participation for youth apprenticeship programs,
Right.
mentoring opportunities, as well as internships. And it's not just at the primes. We actually have a meeting with one of the subcontractors next week with the CTE program to look at the youth apprenticeship and what can be done to identify juniors and seniors for this potential pathway. And so that is also part of this program as well. As we move out, there is the community investment commitment to creating career opportunities and laddering opportunities for both students and young professionals.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, I have to step away. Senator Patterson, could you proceed? Let me.
Yes.
Right back.
Couple questions. Could you talk a little bit about the maintenance agreement for the P3 programs? I've been getting some virus.
Yeah.
You know, that's a giveaway. The schools will not be a barrier. So.
No, Jason can talk a little bit about that. And let me just tell you this, and Jason, to tell you where I stood with this whole agreement process. I was pretty hardcore that I wanted to get all we could for Prince George's County residents and our business people. And I probably pushed Jason a little hard, but at the end of the day, that's what we're going to get from our agreement here. So Jason, go ahead.
And so
before Jason, come on, let me give you your other question. So perhaps you can just answer them all at one time. There, the apprenticeship program. What's your take for returning citizens? How do you feel about that population of people who are coming back, nonviolent individuals who are looking for a startup time to get back into the workforce? Are you resistant to that? Are you?
No, that's part of. We're going to be working with Employee PGC as well.
Right.
And most of this is going to be focused on, by putting out the bids and creating opportunities and procurement opportunities, some of the smaller businesses are going to have to hire up. And so what we want to do is we want to identify those residents that are looking for work and have the ability to do so, be it returning citizens or not. And that's, I think that is the perfect population as we identify in terms of training and building career laddering opportunities. That's going to be at the business level. However, I can say from our point of view that there is no prohibition against from the school's point of view and from our project agreement that prevents that from happening. The only thing that our requirement is background checks to be on the school. And so as long as, and I think that pretty much stops at the sexual predator level.
Right.
So as long as they are able to pass the background checks, et cetera, there is no restriction and barring on our side from residents from participating in our program, specifically on the P3. And I can let Keith or Wes speak to the school system in general. So.
Okay. Any other questions from any of my colleagues? I see we got Senator Jackson, Senator Griffin still around. Yeah. But let me, Mr. Stan, I am so happy to hear you talk about the Senator. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I thought I had my hand raised.
Okay. Go ahead. I just wanted to give.
Just a quick question. Just a quick question. So as was mentioned earlier about, I know you all have a list of folks that you shoot information out to make folks aware of this. Again, please use us in that process. So I'm wondering if how are folks finding out? I know if you're a small business person, you can find out through Department of General Services, through the state and locally in the county. But could you enlighten us on other avenues that you use to enlighten?
Yeah,
us?
yeah, Mike. Yeah, Senator.
Yeah,
Wes or
appreciate it.
Keith, can y'all give an update on how we get our communication out in our process for that?
And also, can we get a copy of this PowerPoint as well, Barry? Appreciate
Okay.
it. Thanks.
We also tap into SBA as well. We've got contacts with the SBA, MDOT, of course. There's a huge, vast website of contacts, and you can target it any way you want to. Of course, I'm going to target Prince George's County first and foremost.
Appreciate it.
Also, our contacts with Prince George's County Supply and Diversity Development. They're also very active in what we do. We share a lot of lists, and we work together on a lot of things such as this. And Prince George's County College as well, community college. And again, as we said earlier, we welcome any suggestions from you all, and hopefully we can take advantage of any lists that you have as well.
Senator Jackson, just to follow up on that, I think, as you know, my previous job, I was well versed on OCS and the things we did with them in the county. So between Wes and my new director, Keith Stewart, we're already reaching out, and we're going to continue to reach out. Trust me, I get plenty of feedback from council members on how to improve this. But let me just be honest with all the senators. When I came here 2 years ago, this was an issue. If you call us back a year from now on this, we're even going to be this much better. I can commit to that we are, because I can already see the progress we made to date. And so with the change in leadership we have, with Dr. Goldson's position on this, and with the two new directors I have in West, I think you're going to see a year from now, you call us back, we're going to be that much better and ahead of this process. So go ahead.
Appreciate it. We knew how to be in touch as well, Barry. So.
Oh yeah, I will be in touch with you, Senator Jackson.
My man. Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Griffin?
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Senator Griffin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. Thank you all for the presentation. It has been a very, very long day, but as Senator Patterson mentioned, this is an area that I spent most of my interim focused on. As he said, he and I served on a work group on equity and inclusion that was named by President Ferguson. The House of Delegates also had very ambitious work around the areas of equity and inclusion. And one of the things that we learned in the process is that we have been missing some opportunities to really build up our minority businesses because they haven't necessarily been in the room where it happens or had a seat at the table. So some of the recommendations that we've made are, one, I have a bill that will be heard in Senator Penske's committee that will have a chief MBE compliance officer for the state to make sure that where we have the goals or requirements that we are living up to expectations, and when people are applying for waivers, we know why, and whether or not there are legitimate reasons or whether or not they're using the old "we couldn't find anyone who does this kind of work" approach. Another thing that we're doing, we have a procurement improvement council at the state level that's been operating with all of the procurement professionals represented from every department. And so we are going to have 3 minority business representatives now sitting on that procurement improvement council, so that as contracts are even considered before they get lit and put out in the street as RFPs, we will have some minority business representatives weighing in and communicating about barriers. And so as we've watched this process, it's just we've kind of missed the opportunity to hear from the folks that are doing that kind of work. And I'm not sure if you all are doing that. I do know, having had conversations with some board members and with Dr. Golson, I want to applaud you all because they are communicating that you all are looking for every opportunity to engage minority businesses. We do have to be intentional. When we get money, and we are going to be getting money through the bills you all heard me mention, through the bill the Senate just had on second reader today, through federal government, when those CARES dollars, hero dollars, skinny CARES, whatever they call them, come to the school system, when our blueprint money comes, as we expend those dollars, please look to say, is there a minority business that we can use? If we're even doing this emergency procurement, buying laptops, buying PPEs, every opportunity. So I know that wasn't a question, it was more of a long statement, but I thought it needed to be said. So thank you for indulging me.
No, Senator Griffin, I think you're right on point with what you said. We appreciate what you're proposing and what you're moving. I'm not that far away from making sure we have adequate improvement. Before I leave the school system, I think you're going to see that we're going to have one of the best MBE programs around, because I'm going to continue to push that. It's my commitment to the citizens of this county. When I came here, that was one of my goals. So with the 3 people we have on this call with me, I know we can make that improvement because we've hired professionals finally in the school system.
I appreciate that. And I hope all 4 of you know that you have a Senate of Maryland and a General Assembly that is keenly focused on these issues like never before.
Absolutely.
New day in Annapolis. I've been here since 1999 and it's a new day. So please.
We hear you. We hear you.
As the once delegate, now senator.
I know.
Call on us.
Yes.
I think we're all former delegates.
Yes.
So, yeah, we all.
Well, I'm damn. Yeah. Senator Bennett?
So thank you all so much. It's surely been wonderful. I had no idea that we were going to be here for almost 2 hours, but I think that the time has been very well spent. It's been worth it because we've garnered some very, very important information, and we do plan to follow up and work very closely with you, because this is something that we have on our radar screen down here. So I want you to know we deeply appreciate your presentation. It was absolutely wonderful.
And most of you have my number, I think. So, and if you don't, I'll be glad to give it to you. And I think you can call me anytime.
Be sure that Destiny has all of the necessary information so that we can get in contact with you. If there are any packets or any information that you think that we need to have, would you please be sure that you send them to Destiny, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the invitation.
To wrap this. Okay, thank you all. As we try to wrap this thing up here, we did have legislative initiatives of that we want the senators to talk to us a little bit about, but I think that we're running out of time.
We got nothing left.
If you
We got nothing left, man.
I would ask you to do this. Would you please send to Destiny any burning priorities that you think the Senate needs to look at?
Okay.
Probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have another meeting with the senators, but I want you all to know that we're going to craft it in such a way that we will only be meeting for 1 hour, because we have had a real long, busy day. It's very busy around here.
Yes.
And
I got to go get dinner.
For sticking around, and I just think that what we did tonight was very wonderful. I want to thank Destiny for putting this agenda together, but we want to craft it in such a way that it won't be over an hour. But your priorities are extremely critical. Send them to Destiny. If there's any legislative initiatives that are coming before your committee that we need to be aware of, that's going to have a profound impact on Prince George's County, I want you to let me know. Now, Senator, as an aside, there was a bill that came before your committee today from a group of officers. I want you all to know that
Which committee?
Which one of us are you speaking?
But I want you all to know that I am not going, I would ask that you not, well, no, I'll give you a call.
What committee was that, Madam Chair?
It came before the, before.
My committee. We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk.
And I have a document already in your office waiting on you.
And I want to
So
say
we'll talk
to the
about that as
county
well.
council, to the county executive's office, if there are bills that you know are not good for Prince George's County and they're coming down the pike, we need to know what the bills are.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
right.
We can take the necessary steps I would have put that bill, would have never put that bill in, would have never even considered it. And after the testimony today, I almost fell on the floor and cried.
I got you. I got you.
We want the
All right.
county executive and you all to know that the senators are ready to work with you, but we
Yes, ma'am.
know this information before the bills come down the pike.
Yes, ma'am. We will do.
All right. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. See you guys early
Thank you
Thank you
tomorrow.
all.
very much. Y'all take care of yourself.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Okay, Tab.
Senator, I'll talk to you in the morning.
All right, thank you.